This meeting is being recorded.
There's too many people that are isolated in trying to do good work for God. They're all trying to figure out how to market Catholicism in a fresh way that actually engages people.
So we tried it the first year, had tremendous success.
It's exciting. I'm having fun. I'm meeting a lot of really great people.
I have been to all of these shows over the last year, and by far this is my favorite.
I want to emphasize the importance of what you're doing as lay apostles in the CMN.
The Catholic Marketing Network has a service that the marketplace needs and the church needs.
There's the distribution of a lot of Catholic religious items, but most of the people you talk to, they say, we really come for the networking.
It's a great joy to be here. In fact, it was almost 10 years ago that I came to the Catholic Marketing Network for the first time. There was a friend and I putting out sacred music, and Ignatius Press picked it up and they showcased us, and before you know it, we had sold 20,000 copies to people like you. And that sprungboard a company that now has reach in about 8 different countries.
I found really good and very interesting because I like when people come from everywhere and we can learn a lot. We come to show something, but they show us too. So that's an amazing.
This is always one of my favorite events.
I always love coming here and being here because it's such a synergy to be around like-minded people with the same ideals, the same love for the church. So it's beautiful.
Welcome to the Sowing Hope podcast. This is a show all about implanting hope in our hearts. I'm Bill Snyder, joined by my friend Ann DeSantis. We're glad you're here for our uplifting conversation about faith and how it sustains our hearts through all the seasons of life. Thanks for walking with us.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Sowing Hope podcast. I am Bill Snyder. It's great to be with you. Thank you so much for joining us here on this Thursday evening. It's wonderful to be with each and every one of you, no matter where you're listening, whether you're listening live on YouTube or later on Podbean or your favorite podcast app. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, I am joined by my friend and co-host, Ann DeSantis. Ann, how are you this evening?
Doing great, Bill. Good to be here.
Yes, it definitely is good to be here. And I know we have a great guest for us tonight and for all our listeners. So why don't you tell us a little bit about her?
Yes, we have with us Hannah Magnelli, and I'm going to read her bio. She's got an amazing bio. She's rapidly establishing herself as one of opera's brightest young stars. She's equally comfortable in opera, musical theater, the concert hall, and the recording studio, making her European debut singing Malika in Lakme with Bel Canto Tuscany in the summer of 2019, and her New York debut as Romeo and Bellini's Capuletti A. Montici. Now, forgive me for my pronunciations there. Hannah recently sang Cherubino in Capitol Opera's Noce di Figaro and will soon perform the title role of Carmen Spring 2021 Suzuki in Madame Butterfly with Richmond Opera, along with the title role of Xerxes. Is that it pronounced? We can correct those pronunciations later. In New York with Richard Nechkaman. I hope I pronounced that right. She has worked and interned with many great musicians such as Daniel Barenboim and musicians from the West Eastern Divan Orchestra, Sebastian Weigel at the Grand Teatro del Luca in Barcelona, pianist Lauren Green, and musicians from Staatskapelle Berlin. Hannah graduated from Virginia Commonwealth University, majoring in vocal performance and minoring in German. She continues her studies with James Taylor and Giovanni Reggioli, vocal coach conductor for the Washington National Opera. I butchered some of those names, so please forgive me. Welcome, Hannah. Thank you. As you can see, I'm not very bilingual, but it's wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And you can go to hannahmagnelli.com on her biography to read the bio, because like I did not give proper due to some of those wonderful people that I mentioned in the bio. It is so wonderful to have you here with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and I know you're coming to us from Florida on this evening in July, but you're from the Richmond, Virginia area, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Awesome. We're glad to have you, and just know that I'm so excited tonight to learn about the world of opera, because it's not something that I dabble in quite often, but I have such a respect for amazing vocalists and people who can present that so well. I've seen a few here and there, but it's going to be so wonderful to learn more and delve into that. So thanks so much for being here, and for and please help us pronounce those names, because
yeah, correct any of the ones. I know that. As you can see, I'm not very bilingual, but I did my best. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't read it in advance, so
it's okay.
Yeah, it's all good. You got to laugh, right? But
Yep.
So let's start out with your early life and anything you want to share about how you got involved in what you do now.
Well, I grew up on the music aspect or the faith aspect.
Oh, let's do both. Let's do both.
Both, sure.
Okay. Well, I grew up in a Catholic family. So all of us were practicing Catholics. I was raised Catholic, and I have for about 21 years now. I have been going to the traditional Latin Mass. So we have a fraternity of St. Peter Parish over in Richmond that I regularly attend when I'm at home. And so I've been able to maintain my faith as a devout Catholic into my adulthood, and also into the arts. And that all began, my parents noticed that I always loved singing. And I began taking violin lessons and voice lessons. And later on, the voice lessons took over. I did play violin for more or less 12-ish years, along with the singing as well as acting. But the singing ended up dominating by the time I got to college and I went to university. And I've just always loved music and art. And I majored in voice. I also do film work as an actress. I do recording music in the recording studio with classical crossover, and of course the opera stage. And I love it. It's a real passion of mine. And I know that God has given me these gifts, and I want to share them with the world.
How wonderful. It's so good to hear that you were raised in the faith where it really meant something to you to be able to use the arts in order to utilize the gifts that God gave you in terms of singing and drama and acting and everything. So that's just really beautiful. And so when you were in high school, I mean, were you singing then too?
Yes, I was. I did a lot of, I went to Catholic school.
Yeah.
So in high school, right away when they found out that I could sing, it was, Hannah, will you sing an Ave Maria at Mass? Because we would have school masses on holy days. Whether you were Catholic or not, you were required to go to Mass. And they would have students participate in the masses for readings or music. And I kind of became the Ave Maria girl and started singing a lot of Latin hymns. Of course, you have Panis Angelicus, etc. And I would sing at different events at the school as I got more exposure there, and would participate in the drama club and talent shows, and obviously as well continued my private voice lessons and doing things in the summer as well.
Awesome. You know, I'm also super interested in one of the things you mentioned because, perhaps it's divine providence too, especially with everything going on in the church right now and with the traditional Latin Mass, something that I've not always frequented every Sunday, but something that I've attended and seen and love the beauty of the traditional Latin Mass. So I would love it if you just talk a little bit about your devotion to that and what you see in that, just the beauty of that expression of the Mass, and what attracts you to it, and we don't have to go into all the church politics of all the things going on with it right now, but just to maybe talk about your personal experience with it and what attracts you to that liturgy.
Well, I love the fact that it's in the original or the language of the church, and what draws me to it is it's not so much that since I was about 11, we started going to the Latin Mass. So it's not so much just because I've been exposed to it for a long time, but it's very reverent. And when I compare the Novus Ordo to the Latin Mass, there's a very big difference I've noticed in just the environment. It's more of you're at the Mass for the sacrifice of the Mass. The priest is talking to Christ during the consecration. He's looking up, facing the back facing the congregation, because he's talking to Christ. He's not talking, we're not there to socialize. That's something you can do outside and outside of the Mass when it's not going on. But it's it's just very reverent, and I really love it. I really feel like it can be heaven on earth. It's the priests, the sermons that I've heard from them are fantastic. And of course, focuses a lot on tradition, sacramentals. They're things that the Latin Mass has taught me about that friends that go to Novus Ordo typically don't know about. Certain sacramentals and certain things, they have no idea. And I say, you should look into this, or maybe you should wear a brown scapular. And I know that's widely used, but I have met people that don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And, or haven't been enrolled in the brown scapular and things like that. And it just, that tradition, that reverence, and it's just, it draws me. And I feel like, of course, kneeling and receiving the Eucharist on the tongue is how I think that that's important. It's very reverent. You're not technically supposed to touch the Eucharist. And I guess that's
yeah. Oh no, that's beautiful. And
yes.
And I just love the fact that you have such an affinity for it, and that you see the beauty in it. And I think oftentimes in our very polarizing world, what happens is we allow ourselves to become in these silos. I am a this Catholic, I am a that Catholic, and oftentimes we don't allow ourselves to experience the rich tradition that the church has, right? And so I think it's interesting that you mentioned that a lot of people maybe who have, some of your friends who have attended Novus Ordos don't know what some of the more deep, devoted, sacramentals are. I find that interesting, but I also find that very troubling that could be the case, because those things are not stressed as much because it's not drawing on that rich tradition of the church. So I'm so glad to see that you've had a positive experience there, and maybe it will encourage some people out there listening to look at it. Take a deeper look. If it's available in your diocese, if you're able to attend and see the beauty, witness that beauty firsthand of that expression of the Mass, it may challenge and deepen your faith in some amazing ways and help you grow. So that's just so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Oh no, of course. It's really the Latin Mass and the Fraternity of St. Peter, who have been our priests, have really helped me with my faith and on my journey. I've learned a lot. And one thing that's highly stressed is the importance of the sacraments, confession, mortal sins, what the mortal sins are, and getting into detail about those, so that you really, really can stay in the state of grace if you know what to confess.
Yeah.
Wow. It's to me, it's incredible to hear how this has made such an impact on your life. And I'm sure that it's also made an impact on people that whether they're people who are Catholic or non-Catholic. And with that said, if I could turn the conversation, you mentioned that you do some work with acting and, the drama world, I guess, as well. You have done. And I myself have done a little bit, not a ton, but some since 2015, with being a 55 plus quote model actress in the Philadelphia area where I live. And I can say that being involved in that field is that it's not really, how could I say this the right way? There's a lot of people who are involved in the field that are not necessarily religious, but even less so Catholic, and even less than that devoted to their faith. So I know for myself, I've encountered that so much when I've been on different jobs and commercials and different things that I've done, where I've had an opportunity to talk to people and realizing that I might be the only one on set that celebrates faith. And as I said, the Catholic faith. So I don't know if you've encountered that as well, that in what you do. And even being an opera singer, I'm sure that there's so many people that they're singing these beautiful, beautiful pieces, but they really don't mean that much to them as far as what you're singing about, what you're speaking about, what you're doing, because the faith aspect isn't there. Have you witnessed that?
Yes, I know I have a lot of colleagues and friends that are not as in this business, that are not religious. They're wonderful people, but they do not have that faith base. And if they do, it's maybe not to, I would say, you're a devout Christian level. I also know Catholics that are Catholic, but they don't really practice.
Yes, me too.
And so nowadays when somebody says, oh, yeah, I'm Catholic, I kind of take it as, okay, because that can mean that you're just, it's easy to say that. And, you grew up with it, but do you live it out? And so, yes, I do feel sometimes like I am one of the only ones that maybe prays a rosary. I try to do it daily, or goes to Mass every Sunday. And because I've also had questions too. When was the last time you went to Mass? As if that's, normal. Like, I'm a Catholic, but I just go when I feel like it. And they're shocked that I go every Sunday. And so, yeah, you kind of feel like you are alone at times. But I have met some people. I met one girl, she was another opera singer when I was in Italy a couple years ago, who is just as devout as I am. And the reason that she found out was because she saw a brown scapular hanging out of my shirt. And she literally, I was studying my music for the next day, and she literally said, "Oh my gosh, are you wearing this?" And she held hers up, and I kind of had to double look for a second. I took like a double take on that. Like, what?
How rare in what you do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you really wearing that?
Oh, that
it was really cool. You know, we still keep in touch today. Her name is Aubrey Bolivar. She's another she's a soprano. She's not mezzo, she's a soprano. But she's also a devout Catholic. So that was really nice to meet someone.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. I bet.
I can't. People, you know, it's hard to, like I said, it is in this particular period, it's a secular field. You have to, they're there, but you don't, I mean,
yeah, no,
you don't come across them often, at least in my experience.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you know, I mean, there's something about media, even too, and also, you know, performance entertainment industry. It just, there's something about it. And I think the other thing that happens too, I don't know if you've ever seen this happen to you, but where your voice and your faith end up marginalizing you in a certain group. You know, they're like, oh, that's the, you know, they can't be a part of this because they're not as liberal. They're not as, woke, you know, to use that term, as we are. So therefore, we're not going to give them this role. We're not going to give them this opportunity. And I don't know if you've ever seen that happen, or if that's in your experience too. I don't know.
I do know of people who that has happened to. You have to, here's the thing with this field, whether just in the arts, performing arts in general, if you want to have a career, I mean, this is just from my experience and what I've noticed is if you want to have a career in this, but also maintain your Catholic faith,
yeah,
and remain grounded, you have to have a good foundation to begin with.
Oh yeah.
Kind of solid, because there are a lot of temptations that come, and it's gonna, you know, sinning feels good. I mean, it's gonna look really nice and it's gonna be thrown at you and you're gonna want to take them. But if you have a good solid foundation in your faith and you keep grounded, and of course you pray that God keeps you on that right path, because it's very easy to sway. Even in the moment, things are thrown at you and you might end up doing something without really thinking, and you realize later that maybe you shouldn't have done that. You know, I feel like that's really necessary if you want to have that balance. And you're going to have to accept the fact that, yes, you will be rejected because of that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it happens to artists anyway. Rejection is, I mean, but when you're asked to do certain things or your character needs to, et cetera, and you're not willing to do it, you're going to have to be open to the fact that they might find somebody else that will.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. I can vouch for you there, even though your experience is way more extensive than mine, because as I said, I only do what I do as a 55 plus model actress from the Philadelphia area as a really part-time thing. But I've been on set probably at least 50 times or more.
Right.
And there's been times where I've had to turn down jobs that it was just something that was against my beliefs.
Yeah.
Or that I just wouldn't apply for things. I mean, there's so many things. I would say 85 or 90% of what I see and scroll through every day when I see what's going on in the area, I just say no, because I know right there that there's something about it that's against my belief system.
Right. Yep. I have noticed that there are more devout Christians than I originally thought. They just don't say much. Until I guess they find their people, because you're kind of a minority. And I know a nice thing is that my acting agent is actually Christian. So she already knows off the bat, or she has actually told me, I don't submit my actors for things that do this, and this anyway. So
Good.
don't worry. So I already, when she submits me for things, I know that it's going to be appropriate.
Oh, that's so good. You found someone that will understand you and you're on the same page.
Yes.
So isn't that wonderful? Hey, let's talk about your experience now and what's going on for you in opera, because you're up and coming and things are really happening. And now that COVID is, quote, almost over, right? We think it is, that you can get out there and do even more. So tell us all about that, because there's people listening that think that I know they're thinking, I want to go see her. And, I want to go see you too when you come to my area.
Well, thank you. And of course, I was actually in Germany when for some an audition in Berlin specifically, when things started to get bad and I rushed home. This was back in 2020, and everything kind of went on a standstill. There were projects lined up, but kind of like everyone, everything just went on pause. And now things are slowly opening up again, which is nice. I've done a couple of things. A lot of artists now are doing virtual performances and collaborations, which is really nice. It's also convenient. And I think that COVID, a nice thing, has opened up a door to other ways of performing and auditioning that are not as expensive.
Yeah.
I've been able to audition in Europe via Zoom, which has been really nice, because I don't have to pay for the flight over there and the lodging and everything else. So I would say that a positive thing is that there have been other ways that we've been able to do things that are actually more convenient and affordable. So I'm not sure, maybe that will open up some doors to some people. Oh, this works. Maybe we can start offering this instead, so that everybody doesn't have to come and, do it here. So, that was a plus to some things. So I was able to do some auditions and I did some performances, which was really great. Recently did Carmen. And of course, now things are kind of picking up where they left off.
Yeah. Oh,
and
good.
So I'm kind of open to wherever God ends up sending me. Because I delve into a lot of things. I do the opera stage, I do acting, like film, and classical crossover recordings. So you like your Andrea Bocelli kind of stuff. So I'm just kind of at the point when things are opening up again and opportunities are coming my way. I'm just saying, okay, let's just see what happens. I've got this and this and this, so.
Awesome. Hey, I got a question for you. So when you're visiting all of these different places now I know in 2020 you weren't able to visit that many places, but you go all over the place to different countries and do your performances. Do you get to visit, and I'm sure you do, you get to go to mass at all these different churches all over. What is that experience like for you? And are you able to find the Latin masses? Because I know that they're not, they're not always everywhere you go.
Yes, I have. I've been to mass in many different countries, and many different languages. And it's nice and some of these are beautiful older churches. And there's the mass it's a great experience. And if it's obviously a language that I don't speak, I know what's going on. I know what part of the mass we're in. I just can't vocally do it in their language, depending on where I am. And regarding the Latin mass, I have been to Latin masses, and I went to 2 in Germany. I went to a low mass and I went to a high mass. And what was amazing about that is it was exactly the same.
Yeah.
I go in and I'm following along just like everyone else, as if I were back at home. It's the same thing. same responses. I know 100% what's going on, what I'm saying. And of course, the sermon is going to be in another language, but all over the world, I can go to a Latin mass and it's exact same thing. And I'm following along just like everyone else.
Yeah, there's something about that universality, right? Like, we talk about in Catholic Church, Ann and I always say the Catholic Church is universal. I mean, that's what it means.
Yes.
And and so there's something that speaks to that universality of, the church when it uses one consistent language, right?
Right.
Across the board. And, so that's pretty beautiful. I remember when I was in Philadelphia, actually, for the papal visit, when Pope Francis came to visit the United States, and it was a Novus Ordo Mass, but the Novus Ordo Mass was in Latin for the majority of the Mass. I mean, there was obviously English songs and Spanish songs and some different points of the liturgy that using different parts of the Mass, but it was incredible because the Eucharistic prayer was in Latin, and that was just so beautiful. It was so beautiful because it spoke to the universality of the Church, and to celebrate Mass with the Pontiff, to celebrate Mass with the Pope as he prays in Latin was just something really special. And so I certainly think that more people should seek out this expression, and it's not something that if you fall in love with it, wonderful, fall in love with it, and there's nothing wrong with going to a Latin Mass. There's just nothing wrong with going to Latin Mass every Sunday if that's what you want to do. But I really do think it's the duty of most Catholics, if not all Catholics, to really see what the extraordinary form of the Mass is, see what the Tridentine form of the Mass is, and go find a Mass and experience the beauty of this. Because as you said, it's amazing. You can just walk in to a Mass in Germany, and you can walk into a Mass in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and it's going to be exactly the same. And so that's pretty powerful. I know most recently I attended a Latin Mass. I was actually doing a filming of it for Fiat Ministry Network, and our partners here at our ministry, and it was beautiful. I got a chance to meet the priests, and got a chance to film it and see it and go in and pray. And I used to go to Latin Mass almost every Christmas Eve morning with one of my friends in the Chicago area, and it's just beautiful. There's something beautiful about it, and
it is.
And so I encourage people. I know there's a lot going on with church politics right now, and we certainly don't want to delve too far into that regarding the Latin Mass. But know that if you have the opportunity to go see this and see the beauty of it, many bishops right now are saying, hey, this is a beautiful thing. We want this to continue in our diocese, and we're going to allow it. So I know that's the case in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, where Anne is. I know it's the case in the Archdiocese of Milwaukee, and wherever you. I mean, I'm sure it is in Virginia too. So find
in Arlington.
In Arlington. Wonderful.
Richmond, I'm not sure yet.
Richmond, you're not sure yet. Okay, but Arlington, I know. I'm pretty sure Arlington would be too. So, check it out, folks. If you have the opportunity to check this Mass out,
it needs your support right now.
Yep.
Yeah, great conversation here, and I also want to mention, as Bill knows, is that I'm an employee and a worker for this foundation. It's called the St. Raymond Nonnatus Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith. We're headquartered in Philadelphia, founded by a religious order, and it's called the Mercedarians. And I will say that some of our Mercedarian friars are ones that do Latin Mass, and especially right there at one of our parishes in Philadelphia called Our Lady of Lourdes. You might have even been there. I don't know. Maybe you have, because they do Latin Mass every Sunday for their 9:30 Mass, and they've been doing that for a long time. And so it's a beautiful thing, and I'm very honored to be a part of a religious order that honors the Latin Mass and actually does the Latin Mass in some of their parishes. So thank you for sharing with us on that. Now,
Oh, of course.
is there anything that's going on for the rest of this year for 2021 that you want people to know about? I'm sure they could go to your website too, but please tell us.
There's a mixture of things. Of course, as I mentioned, things are slowly opening up again. And I feel like 2021 is kind of the recovery year to 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And I think by 2022, things will hopefully start really rolling again. I almost feel like this year is like an adjustment.
Yes.
So it's
I
a matter of
agree.
just, and I'm just doing some little performances right now. I plan on doing some recordings. You can keep updated. I have a YouTube page, my website, hannahmagnelli.com. I have a Facebook page, Hannah Magnelli Mezzo Soprano, and then my Instagram, Hannah_Magnelli. I'll post updates or new recordings and collaborations that I've done, and so I'm planning on doing some new recordings as well as some video and audio recordings to update those, and just taking the performance opportunities that come my way right now as things are opening up. But I feel like that right now, if you want to keep updated, following my social media pages, I really appreciate.
Absolutely. Yes. I'm really glad for myself that I can start to follow you, because when you come to Philadelphia, I really want to come and be there. I want to be there. Now, I've asked this question before to other performers, especially musicians and singers. And I remember that my own brother is a performer too. He's a singer and songwriter in the Philadelphia area. And I asked him this question. I said, do you have any advice for those people who want to get involved in some kind of singing? Now, I want to tell you what he said first and see if you agree.
Okay.
Instead of giving some kind of advice, the first thing he said was raw talent. Do you agree with that? He said raw talent, meaning like you can try all you want, but you have to have some kind of raw talent. Let's talk more.
Well, yeah, I guess, I mean, I understand where he's coming from. Yes, you need to have some sort of raw talent there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To begin with, not to mention you have to have a passion for it, an interest. If you don't have a passion for it, you're not going to want to pursue it, and it's going to be forced.
Yeah, there's some people who want to be a good singer. They want to get involved, but the raw talent isn't there, if that makes any sense.
Right. You know,
Not to be funny about it.
My sister can sing, but she doesn't, she is a med student. That's her thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can't force her to do what I do. And you definitely cannot make me become a doctor and go to med school. I have no interest.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do need to have that, I mean, raw talent, but also you need to have that passion for it, for your art or whatever it is that you're doing. And I know that if God has given you a specific gift, like being able to sing, you have it for a reason. Obviously he wants you to use it, but of course we have free will as well. Are you going to share it with the world, and how are you going to do so? Are you going to do it to glorify him or glorify yourself, which John Paul II talks about in the letter to artists. It's your responsibility to share that with the world. Art is beauty. Beauty teaches us about God.
Yeah.
And how are we going to?
No, it all makes sense, because we're all stewards, aren't we? And yeah, we all get a list of talents that God has given us. And I do believe that some people do have the raw talent of a good voice, a good singing voice, and also just the musical ability. And I think there's a lot of people who wish to have that talent. They do. They really wish, but they'll say, but I just don't have it. And I understand that. But I think what we need to all do, whatever our talents are, because we're all of us have a different list, don't we? And I think we just have to be able to look at those talents and use them to the maximum of who we are and our limitations, right? Because we have limitations too. So if somebody doesn't have that raw talent, their limitations will be that they're singing at church and doing their best, but they'll never be a Hannah Magnelli. They're never going to be a Hannah Magnelli. So beautiful.
Yes, I've been to different masses as well, church masses where they have the cantors, and you can tell that they.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes, it's.
Sure.
That's right. Sometimes you walk away and scratch your head, right? You think, how did this happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Painfully honest, right?
Yeah. But Hannah, I mean, you spoke something beautiful there about passion too, and I think those two things, talent and passion, they go hand in hand. And then of course you mentioned also doing it for God, and that truth, beauty, and goodness, right? Like those three transcendentals. And when we talk about beauty and art, whether it be in singing or whether it be in art, written art or painted art, whether it's a great book or a great movie, these things point us toward God eventually, if it's done with the right intention. And so I'm wondering, for you, are there any performances, are there any things that, or even, operas or songs that may not be explicitly, this is, religious, or this is, Catholic, but it draws you closer to God, when you see it. And also, are there moments, in performing that people have said, man, that was so incredible. There was something else that was just, uplifting me, drawing me closer to God through one of your performances. Are there particular are there particular performances that stand out in your mind, or particular operas that draw you closer to God as you perform?
As far as the reaction that people have, like, oh, I thought that I was listening to angels. A lot of those were when I used to do a lot of school masses. Mm-hmm. So on the religious side of things, when I would sing the Ave Marias, Panis Angelicus, Attende Domine, etc., they loved it. And I got that reaction. I've also had that reaction as well for non-religious pieces, from a piece that I really love to sing. I don't know if you guys have seen Chino a Paradiso.
Mm-mm. I have not.
No.
Oh, it's a beautiful movie. The love theme at the end, it's such a beautiful piece. And there's a song that Ennio Morricone wrote the music, and then they put lyrics to the love theme, and it's just such a beautiful piece. And when I sing that, it's not a religious piece, but like you were saying, you just feel like it's just such a beautiful piece. It's an opportunity to really showcase the passion that you have for music and the gifts as well that God has given you. Because in order to, you have to feel it inside to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't have that, it's kind of like when you're acting, it's easy to say the lines, to read a script, say the lines, but if you're not feeling it, it comes through. You can tell if somebody truly means what they're saying. And yes, there are certain pieces where I've had that reaction, not just from myself, but from other people, religious and not religious. When it comes to the operas, that one's tough. There's so many. But I definitely, for me, I would say it's just when I'm singing them. There's a lot of things going on in your head while you're doing it.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
It's more of a let me show them what I can do.
I can't wait to come and watch you. I just can't wait.
Yeah.
You're getting me excited about this.
Yeah.
I got to, well, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bill.
No, that's good. You know what? It reminds me actually of a comment my band director in high school told us, that there was a handful of performances that he had that he forgot where he was when he was finished with them, where you get so engrossed into what you're singing or so engrossed into what you are doing that he actually had to go, like, I don't even know what town I'm in. I don't even know where I am right now. And but I know that was so good. I know that was, it spoke goodness into the world that nothing else mattered. And he goes, it was only a handful of times in my, in my performance of this, with this band, but there's something so beautiful about that you are so singularly focused on whatever you're doing, and so present to it that
you're in the zone.
Yeah, in the zone that it speaks to the very goodness of the art itself, right? And that right there is the divinity that brings the divinity into it. And so I just really I commend you for mentioning that. I commend you for putting your entire being into it, because often we don't see that, and quite honestly, Satan doesn't want us to put our entire being into the thing we're doing. He wants us. He is phenomenal for distracting us, right? How many times have we checked our smartphones in the last hour? How many times have we, distracted ourselves from being fully present? And so, I just think that right there speaks to, your faith, because if we don't, fully enter into the thing we're doing, we don't, we often cannot experience the full goodness of what is God is offering, to us.
And as well, I think as a Catholic, the resources that I know are available to me to use, such as praying the rosary beforehand or asking my guardian angel to help me, praying a Hail Mary before I go on stage, whatever it is that I know other people are not. I mean, I don't know, but I can just guess that I'm probably one of the few that are doing that in the cast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And in a sense, I feel like, I have advantage. I'm able to use this, and I know about this, so I'm going to use this resource that I have. And so that in itself can help you. And like you were saying, you get in the zone, and a lot of it too is muscle memory. Just like as if you were an athlete doing some sort of routine, like gymnastics or something, you practice it over and over and over again to the point where it's just automatic. You think of the first note and you can literally zone out somewhere else, and your body just knows what it's doing because you've done it so many times. I know my family has heard me practice the same phrase back and back over and over and over again, to the point where like, what are you singing? What is that? Like, what?
Yeah.
Because I mean, when you're a singer and you're practicing, funny sounds will come out, and you do it because, like, whether you're doing it on a certain vowel or yawning or it's, obviously it's helping you to sing better, but you're doing little exercises with it, and you might sound stupid, but
yeah. Oh, it's good that you're sharing this on a podcast, because maybe this is also something that will be a nice little keepsake for you for later on to listen to from this year, and how you have grown so much, I'm sure, since you began this journey. I did want to mention something, and it's another personal experience, and it's a question for you. We had 2 deaths in the family this past summer. Both of my in-laws, my husband's parents, passed away. And that said, thank you. With that said, my daughter, who is 22, her name is Sean, She is also a singer, not to your extent, but she does love to sing, and she's a cantor. And so she sang at both of my in-laws' masses. And a lot of people, just like you said, you sing the Ave Maria, people come over afterwards. Oh, that was so beautiful. You sound like an angel. Same thing to her. But the one thing that one woman came over and said to her, I think is something that you have probably experienced. When we got over to the burial site, someone walked over to my daughter and she said, you sing so beautifully. You should do this in the secular world, not just in churches. You could probably make a lot of money doing it. You really should do it. And my daughter didn't say anything because she really has no desire to be the next, big name in the entertainment world, if that makes any sense. Right. Has that ever happened to you? Have people ever said to you, hey, you need to switch gears here and do something that can really bring in some money? I don't know. I don't know if that's ever happened to you before, but I know that this person saying it to my daughter, it just took me off guard because my thought was, why would she want to do that? There's so much not good in that whole realm, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things that, yeah, she probably could. And not that if you don't sing sacred music, you're sinning or doing something bad, but obviously if you're going to do that, what kind of music are you going to sing?
Yeah.
How are you going to portray yourself as an artist?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to go all, like some of these like Hollywood stars, if you wanted a lot of these,
pop music,
a lot of stars, even these Catholic girls that go into Hollywood and it's like, oh, you're a young girl now, let's make you a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, it's slow. It's a slow process, and that stuff comes to you. Like I said, yeah, I've had people like, oh, you should try this or that. Or maybe have you ever tried just doing straight pop music?
Mm-hmm.
I can sing pop, but my voice has been trained to do this and this.
Yeah.
And I have experienced that before, but like I said, if you want to do it, it's just really, in my opinion, a matter of how you're going to be in the secular world.
Mm-hmm.
What is your image going to be? What is your reputation going to be?
That's big.
Are you going to be able to go against the secular world when you're maybe asked to do things that you probably shouldn't be doing?
Mm-hmm.
Or that could cost you your faith? Are you going to be strong enough to not give in and sway and lose your soul in the process?
And do you think it also, and this bothers me when I see this on Instagram, and I've just did a podcast with somebody else on this topic, but it's also the images that you see on something like Instagram or other social media of young women, perhaps your age, perhaps younger, who the immodesty that you see, and it's all about, trying to portray yourself as this sex object, which is so not good. And I know you understand what I mean here. And that's another thing too, when you're getting involved in all of that, that's what comes along with it too. Sometimes, some of the times. So I just think what you're doing is a beautiful thing. And I just encourage you to keep on that track because we need truth and beauty and goodness. And you're living it out with what you're doing.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to give thanks to someone who brought us together. And he might even be listening to this podcast either right now or later on, Patrick Novakoski. So Patrick because he recommended you to us for this podcast.
I do know Patrick.
Okay, awesome.
Patrick's a great guy. Doing so much great work.
He's been a guest here twice.
Yeah, no, he's been great. I've had some interviews. I was on Rome Reports as well.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so I had an interview. I did English and Spanish. I think they posted me doing the English part, but because I'm also a Spanish speaker. I'm a Spanish interpreter on the side as a contractor.
Oh, awesome.
Awesome. You and my wife
You are
would get along.
multi-talented. Yeah. Love Agnes.
Yeah. You and my wife would get along wonderful. My wife is a native Puerto Rican, so she speaks fluent Spanish, and I don't speak very much Spanish, so so I have my own live-in interpreter here. No, it's wonderful, and it's so great to be bilingual. I'm sure that helps you with pronunciation, and especially in all the different learning all the Italian in the operas, right? They're pretty kind of close, right? Some of it's a little bit close to the Italian.
They've asked me, your Italian diction is very good. Do you speak Italian?
Yeah.
And so because Spanish, I grew up with Spanish, so my family is from Argentina and from Barcelona, Spain. So there's Catalan and Spanish spoken in my family.
Oh, so beautiful.
Awesome.
So I have because of that and the exposure, my ability to speak other languages has been very easy. And I studied German. I've also done some Italian. It's not like my level of Spanish and English, but it's there. And I always love learning more and more languages. My mother's learning Arabic because of the similarity to Spanish and Arabic. And then as well, I should probably start learning Arabic. I have a lot of friends that are from the Middle East, from the West Eastern Orchestra that you read in the bio. And a lot of them speak Arabic. So it's something on my bucket list I should do.
Well, based on the beginning of this podcast, you and I need to talk more often so that I can get better at it. And I should be at least good at Italian because my husband's parents were born there. And my husband, so he's 100% Italian. And so, that's something that I myself need to learn.
Yeah.
Thank you
my
so
family.
much.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yes. So I didn't want to interrupt what you're saying. Tell me more about your family. Are you Italian at all as well?
Yes. The Argentinian side is 100% Italian. The Castrovillari in Italy. So my grandfather's parents are both from Italy, and Argentina has tons of Italians. A lot of Italian last names in Argentina. So it's definitely not uncommon to have an Italian surname.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I know my grandmother my grandmother's father, I think wasn't born in Argentina, but was born in Brazil. And so and then obviously moved to Italy, and then they moved here, but that was very interesting to hear her stories when she would talk about that, how there were many people in South America, Argentina, Brazil, have Italian names. That's so incredible. There's so much there's so much amazing things when you get the chance to get the chance to travel and see the world and all that amazing stuff. And so, well, Hannah, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we definitely have to have you back because there's so much more to talk about. So thank you for being with us, and also just as we're kind of wrapping up here, make sure you give us your websites and all that good social media stuff again, so that our listeners can connect with you, as I'm sure you want them to.
Oh yes. Well, again, thank you so much for having me. I'd love to discuss more another time, as you mentioned.
Yes.
I appreciate the Instagram follows, Hannah_Magnelli. Facebook is Hannah Magnelli Mezzo Soprano. I have my YouTube page, and of course my website is hannahmagnelli.com, and I'll be posting updates and newer videos and recordings as they come.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Well, thank
you again.
Yes, thank you, Hannah, and everybody.
Thank you.
Of course. And folks, you can always follow, friend, and like us at patchworkheart.org and andesantis.com. Just follow us there in case you missed anything, you need more info. But until next time, from all of us here at Patchwork Heart Ministry, keep beating to your Catholic heart and sowing hope into broken hearts.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Sowing Hope on Patchwork Heart Radio. For more information about this podcast and our ministries, visit our websites, patchworkheart.org and andesantis.com. You can also follow and interact with us on Twitter at PWH Ministry or Andy Santis 2.